Are you secretly sabotaging your next 100K in revenue? And we're going to dive in on how to fix it. But I have to tell you that this is a real conversation. And what I mean by real conversation is that this is not something that is I hypey boss babe type of talk. This is a real grit and understanding, heart to heart check in with the woman running the show. And I'm pretty sure that should be you if you're watching this. So if your business is pulling in maybe 200K, 250K, 300K, then this video is for you. Because it probably still feels like you're sprinting on a treadmill with no off switch. And I want you to know that this is something that you're not alone. This is actually more common than you think. And most importantly, it's not your fault. And I like to start there because you've worked your tail off to get here, and it takes a while to build a business at this volume, and that's something to be proud of. But I think also, recognizing that you've likely worn all of the hats, the sales, the marketing, the answered the DMs in the middle of the night, held space for your team, your clients, maybe your family, all while holding yourself away from that functional burnout, from burnout as a bigger piece. But now I think that understanding that that's like weird ceiling, it allows you to know that there's more revenue out there, there's more impact out there, there's more ease out there for you. Okay. But every time you push at this stage to get to that next level, it's like the results don't match the effort anymore. And here's the thing that nobody talks about: the same habits that got you to 250 might be the habits that are keeping you away from 500. Because what got you here isn't going to get you to that next level. And a lot of those habits are rooted in hidden sabotage. They are perfectionist, over control, a belief that if I don't do it, it won't get done, or it won't get done right. And this video is going to unpack a lot of those layers lovingly and honestly and practically too. So I can be a little sassy because I believe that being able to be direct is a big piece of getting to that next level. And so I believe in having this really beautiful equilibrium of masculine and feminine to really balance these pieces, because once you're able to clearly see what's actually in the way, it's easier than you think to actually fix it. So let's dive in without further ado. The first thing that I want to talk about is what sabotage actually looks like at this level. So it's not dramatic and it's not necessarily always obvious, because it's subtle. It's wrapped in these really good intentions that can convince you that you're absolutely right. So here's a few patterns that I see over and over from women who are trying to scale past 250K, especially high capacity women like yourself. So the first thing is that if I stop, it'll fall apart. And there's this like mantra almost that's happening in the back of our mind. And so you've built this business with grit, and that probably means that you're used to doing everything yourself and fast. And now your capacity is maxed, and you know it. And you have to be honest with yourself to be able to actually see that. But still, it's almost like your brain can't help thinking that way, because it'll probably be saying, if I delegate too much, then the quality will drop. And if I take a step back, then the momentum will stop. And what happens? You hover, you tweak, you redo, you take yourself out of what actually is maximizing business. And it robs your business and your team of that leadership, that ownership, right? It robs you of space to grow, but it robs your team of the feeling of that they're expanding, that they're actually learning something. I want you to go way, 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 way back when you used to have a manager and look for their approval once upon a time, right? And when we track it, there are people that do this that I'll give you actually a really great example. There's a client that we worked with that I'll call Maya. She used to personally approve every client onboarding email, every single one. And when we tracked it, she was spending approximately 6 to 8 hours a week on this alone. Girl, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? This is an onboarding email. It's pretty standard. But she believed that everybody had this like custom experience. She really wanted everybody to have this like really beautiful experience. The clients didn't notice it. So we built in a delegation system that gave her team a little bit more autonomy and still gave that like customization feel without like all the detail work on her side. And she got all that time back. And so being able to have all that time back, she can then sign to, on average, 2 more premium clients per month in that space that she created. And so I think that in a lot of ways, we kind of get stuck in some of the details and some of the preferences that we have. And that's something to consider in the ways that sabotage might be blossoming without you actually trying to make it flower. And so let's dive into another pattern. The quote of pattern number 2 is typically, let me just fix it first and then I'll invest in where the business needs to go. And this one's sneaky because you need support. And you can't keep on doing things the way that you've been doing things. But instead of investing in better systems or strategy or mentorship, you try to fix the back end and you try to clean up the ops or figure out one more offer just a little bit more before trying to hit that help button. And so what's really going on here is fear. You're in this fear cul-de-sac and you're driving around this cul-de-sac up and in a way where you are just kind of like, I want to make sure that they're all perfect before somebody else is looking at them. I want to just take a look at this. I don't want to waste money. I don't want to actually like move these things or commit in this way. And, one of my clients who was a therapist turned educator sat at 280K for about 2 years because she kept tweaking her offers. Well, I want it to be like this. I want to rebrand. I want to launch a new PDF. I want to launch a new, instead of fixing the actual problem. And her business wasn't scalable the way that she built it. So when you actually stop and recognize that you have to name the thing you actually want in your business to make it easier. And sometimes naming fear is a really hard thing. And I empathize really deeply with this. And this is something that you have to almost go through like a breakdown to get the breakthrough. And anybody that's in coaching understands that. That's something that we all see pretty consistently. And it's something to really think about. Another pattern that I typically see is I don't want to outgrow my team. And this one's really personal. And you're probably really loyal and have grown with people for a really long time. And by doing that, you've probably built your team like family. And you're scared of growing too fast because what it actually means is that you'd be leaving them behind, or that you'll become somebody who just changes. But the viewpoint of the way that woman changes is that she believes that she'll chase money. But here's the truth. You're holding yourself back isn't actually serving them. Your team needs a visionary. Your team needs a leader, not just a manager. And you can't follow a parked car. What I mean by that is that when a car is parked because it's comfortable, it means that sometimes we have to reshape certain roles and we have to pop the hood and just take a look at like what's actually going on. And this is where the next level means that you'll either develop them and give them feedback, and that's leadership, that's not betrayal, or you'll stay in the same stuck pattern and they will leave. Because top performers don't want to be in a place of stagnation. Top performers want to be with somebody who's leading bullishly and going to that next level. One of my clients, and apparently I make a lot of people cry because our second call, she actually realized that she'd kept her VA in a role that was probably about 5 levels below what the business now needed. And it was really hard because this VA had protected her through a variety of pieces of her divorce and was incredibly loyal. And when she finally let her go and hired somebody with the right experience, revenue grew by about 30% in about 60 days, which is obviously that's significant. So sometimes growth means letting people go, and that's okay. And sometimes growth means that trusting that letting people go enables them to get a new job. Also, the old VA got this like beautiful dream job that she's always wanted. And it was actually in an office, which is kind of unusual, but it's one of those things that when you get to see the other side of that, it's a really beautiful resource of that cool drink of water on a summer day, And so if you see yourself in any of these patterns, I want you to first understand that this is completely normal. And this is part of growth. And this is so normal because most women at your level are having at least one of these thoughts, patterns, or saboteurs run in the background. And the good news is that they're flexible and they are fixable and they are moldable at this stage. And, when the economy is kind of like in this weird place of dynamic and it's shifting pretty quickly, And so in this next section, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to shift out of sabotage and into strategy, no matter the market. I used to be a financial advisor for about 7.5 years. And when you're looking at the market, it can create a variety of things of like fear. And then you have this desire to like, oh my God, if I change these things though, I might burn everything down. And so I'm going to give you a really value rich next piece here. So if you can't pay attention for this next 15 minutes, and your brain is in that limbic system of having to click around and having to distract before you actually extract information, this probably isn't going to be for you, and you're probably not going to be successful anyway. But if you can double down and you can really commit to watching this and really hearing what I'm saying, your next level is about to go just to that next point of enriched, oh my gosh, running at max capacity, self-aware, throttled. So this next section is for ambitious, very powerful women. So let's dive in. So let's talk about the cost first of these patterns, really, because here's the truth. It's not just costing you money, although we'll get to that in a second. It's costing you space, confidence, health, and creativity. Because when those things go down, so does your ability to lead and grow. And so a lot of times when you are recognizing that you're not taking the space to actually consider the direction that you're going, you're creating revenue leaks that you don't even see. And so these are what we call blind spots. So for example, every time you redo a team member's work, you're spending about 30 to 60 minutes on something that somebody else should have completed or should have owned. And that time isn't just extra work. It's time you're not spending on refining a high ticket offer with a client. It's time you're not connecting for your next partnership. It's time that you're not on a call with a premium client who's ready to actually take that purchase to the next level. And, one client, we'll call her Janelle, realized that she was spending about 12 hours per week double checking things. And we mapped out and we saw that it was roughly about $7,000 per month that was in lost revenue just from the missed opportunity of misalignment. And not only that, she didn't have her dermatologist appointment scheduled or any of her like healthcare appointments scheduled for the last 3 years. This hadn't been something that was like one and done or one thing off and finished. It was for years. That is what I'm talking about with it's not just extra work. It is a loss of not only self-care, but really what's keeping that business going is yourself, darling. And if you're not taking care of yourself, what is the point of the next level? And so your brain knows that ultimately, and it'll get you kind of stuck in these loops, which brings me to my second step. You're mentally stuck in the wrong role. If you're constantly putting out fires, reviewing Canva links, and replying to every single email yourself, you're not operating like CEO. You're operating like a COO or maybe even an executive assistant. And that's exhausting because what's worse about it is that it creates this low-grade anxiety that never turns off because you are wondering if you forgot something and you are wondering if you did that thing. And you wake up and you're already behind because you're exhausted. And that strategic visioning that you know that you need to carve off time for just gets pushed to next week and to the week after. Third part of this, there is an emotional toll that you're normalizing at this stage. So let's name it. Being the smartest, hardest working woman in the room isn't something that you actually want, nor is it actually sustainable. You're constantly holding the business then in your brain, your heart, and in your calendar. Because, and this is why so many women I work with come to me saying things like, I don't even feel proud of what I've built. I just feel freaking tired. I'm exhausted. I'm scared that if I keep pushing, I'll crash. And now I have this responsibility of my entire team and all these people. I know I'm capable of more, Rebecca, but I don't know how to get there without giving even more of myself. And I have nothing else to give. And this, more than anything, is what's costing you that next 100K. Because it doesn't come from working harder. It doesn't. It comes from building systems that work without you. And when you can't build those because you're too deep in the weeds and fixing things last minute and getting stuck in these patterns, that's when there's a moment where women are hitting a ceiling. It's not imposed by somebody else. It's not because we're not good enough or we think that we're not good enough. It's because we're still using the same survival strategies that got us here. And what we really need to understand is that we need a new operating system. Now, I understand that women have only been in business for the last 90 years, and I recognize that we only have so many different examples of like women who do this really, really well. But we need to shift from holding it all to building a business that actually holds you. And that's what we're about to actually talk about, that shift. That's right. This is like my dirty talk in this space, because once you've hit 250K or 350K, you've already proven that you are an expert, you can work hard, and that the same engine that got you here, discipline, hustle, and control, is not what's going to take you to the next level. So in fact, it's part of what's holding you back, like I said before. So this next level requires certain pieces that are very different. One, you need to be able to trust your systems. Two, you have to have delegation without anxiety. And three, a clear strategy that doesn't need your constant presence to work. You need to be able to walk away so that you can actually help your team get to that next level and beyond. So what's going to quietly unlock that next 100K is, first, create a systemized client flow without you in the center. When you shift from word of mouth referrals to posting when you remember, to a content-driven evergreen funnel, which is what we do, that's what brings in qualified leads every week on autopilot. So, for example, we had a mindset coach that was doing about 15 sales calls a month and burning out. She was exhausted, and we helped her build a funnel that was into an email sequence that then went into a nurture system. And within 6 weeks, she was getting daily warm leads. And she was only taking ones that were pre-qualified by the funnel. And she now signs about 3 to 4 premium clients a month without having to do a single thing. No chasing, nothing. And so you can start by creating systemized client flow by yourself if you want to. And that's kind of the pre-work that's required to get to that next level. But again, I want you to think about the saboteurs that I just talked about, and like, I will fix things to be perfect before I'll actually invest in it. And so this client now is doing 3 to 4 clients, not even lifting a finger. She can go on vacation. She can go spend some time with her family. She does not have to do a single thing. Next thing that we look at is replacing chaos with clean SOPs. Chaos cannot build a business. It's not something that is scalable. And so let's be real. If your business is living in your head, in your Google Drive, in 1,000 different scattered voice notes, yes, I know you, girl. We help extract all of it and build a clean step-by-step workflow for every core task, from onboarding to content to calendar rules to delivery. This is where your VA and your ops person knows that done right looks like this, and they can actually do that. And you stop being the bottleneck, meaning you're not the one that's saying, oh, no, you have to do it this way. Oh, no, this is what you should say. Oh, we should. This alone frees up about 10 to 15 hours a week for most of our clients. And this is pretty substantial. The next thing I'm going to say is that CEO habits that match the revenue that you want is going to unlock that next level. And this one's really deep. I'm going to say this again. Becoming the woman that you desire to be able to run the company that you envision, you have to identify where you're actually still operating like a solo founder. And you have to gently step into, little by little, actual CEO mode. That includes boundaries, baby. That includes a delegation muscle that actually trusts. And that includes strategic decision-making blocks that are unlocked. And yes, sometimes learning how to rest without guilt so that your nervous system can actually stop living in survival mode is a really challenging thing to get to. But when you are calm, you make better moves. You think more clearly. You are creating better content. You're leading from vision and not reaction. And the women that we work with aren't just scaling revenue, they're scaling ease, because they finally feel that they're running a business, but not just surviving one. And this is the biggest flex. So if you've been nodding along and you're kind of like thinking to yourself, yep, that's me. Yes, I have that pattern. Well, that's exactly what's happening in my business right now. I want you to pause yourself and truly ask, what is the cost of staying here for another day? Genuinely, I want you to ask that question to yourself. What's the cost of staying here another quarter? More burnout? Another missed revenue milestone? Like, come on. Another launch that you're going to over deliver and still not feel ahead? You don't need another tactic, babe. You need a system that works even when you don't. And so here's what I'm going to ask you to do next. Watch the next video. I'm going to walk you through the exact framework that we use with clients to go from chaos at 250 to graceful, clean growth at 500K and beyond. And I'm going to break down the pillars that we install step by step and show you how women like you are actually signing these high value premium clients, working nearly 10 to 15 hours fewer per week, and finally actually breathing again, getting their appointments done, going for a hair appointment when they want to. They're not feeling like this guilt overload because they have to constantly be chasing this next level in revenue. They now have this peace. They now have this understanding with themselves that actually feels like they're proud of the business that they're building finally, and they deserve that and so much more. And so do you.